Hello, welcome. New Q&A. So let me see what we have. Questions are dropping in, but I have some things on my mind, and I'm gonna show you a trailer of a project. I'm not sure if we're gonna start with that though. Maybe I'll do a question first, and then I will show you a trailer for something that is coming up on this channel that we might make into a feature film. I don't know. That depends on how things go with the web series. But I want to show you the trailer, and I know I had some questions regarding the GH5, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about that too, and answer questions. So let's see. Just want to make sure that everything is working. I think I can see myself. Okay. So, first question. What's your best piece of advice on landing new, more work as a cinematographer? I think it's kind of similar. Whatever you do, it's kind of similar, I think. Because what you basically have to do is prove that you're better or different or more unique, or your style at least is unique, and that you can help and benefit, creatives that are looking for what you do. So if you want, for instance, more work as a cinematographer, one way I would go about it is to, for instance, focus on building an Instagram profile, for instance, because Instagram is a really awesome way to kind of show your style without having to make a lot of content. You have to, of course, have stills that set the mood and tone of what style you're going for. But I think Instagram is a really good way to show your style through stills. You don't have to do video. I don't think so, at least. Some people that you could watch. Let me see if I have somebody that I'm following, which I like. Following. Okay, so now I hear the... Can you hear the autofocus? Let me know and I will turn it off. So let's see, who am I following? Here's one. This is someone you should check out. Can you focus? It needs my face. Okay. Hope you can see that. I will probably pronounce his name wrong, but Khalid Motaseb. I don't know. Do I have any more that I'm following? I mean, Patrick O'Sullivan has a kind of nice profile. He also does the Wandering DP podcast, which I like, so shout out to him. Here you can see like how he's gone about his style. I think it's in focus now. I think Instagram is great to show just through stills, just show what type of style you're into. And it, of course, can be kind of difficult. Let's turn this on. to do that if you don't have project to take stills from. So then that turns, to the next question: how do you make a great portfolio? Because that's what it's all about. I don't think you need tons of projects. I just think you need like one could be enough, but probably 3 really, really good projects. But essentially you need one that really takes off and is one that goes really, really great in terms of popularity, the style, everything that you can capture exactly what you're best at. And essentially if you can't do that in a commercial work that you're already doing, you need to focus on passion projects, and you need to do passion projects in order to express exactly what you want to do. And you should do projects, you should also be picking projects that are in line with what you're trying to do. You should focus on doing those, even if they are for free. You should do them until you have a portfolio. Then you should probably not do them, because then you need to make money. Okay. So let's see. Let me show you the trailer, and then I will talk a little bit more about the project, the secret project. So I think I've teased this sometime before. Not sure. So this trailer is not graded. It's almost finished, but not really. No files in this folder. That's funny. So you're gonna have to watch it on this one then. Yeah, so it's not finished. It's a trailer that we're probably gonna launch as it is, but it doesn't have grading, it doesn't have sound mix. So we'll see how much is left. But I just want to show it and talk a little bit about the project, because this is actually a project that I shot when I was shooting The Pearl of Africa. So at the same time I shot this project. So this is not something we've shot now, although we have made some added shooting in Sweden. So I haven't been to Uganda to shoot it, where it's taking place. But let's see if I can get it up. This is like a 2-minute thing. And since I'm playing it from this one, the audio might be a little bit worse than it is. It's already bad because it's not sound mixed. But it's still fun to show, because I think this project is looking really good, or it's starting to look really good. And we're pretty much finished with all episodes. And our idea for it is to launch a web series, and then after that license the film to TV or make a feature film out of it. So this is our strategy to kind of launch the project. And I'm going to talk a little bit of how we're launching it after I play it.
My name is Ken Daniels. I think I'm an artist / TV personality. I thought it would be good to see what Uganda has to offer. My mom always told me that you guys complain about Africa. She said, well, how are you going to complain when you're not going to be a part of the solution? So I thought it would be a good thing to come back and try and be part of the solution. Actually see if I can affect some change, if that's even possible. When I turn up, you know I'm on my, yes, I'm on my, yes, I'm on my, I am so, yes, I am so, I'm on my, Who are you? Oh my God. I came back because I basically lived out my whole life in Western countries. I'm an African, but never really got to experience Africa the way Africa's supposed to be experienced.
I'd say Uganda's ranked as one of the most beautiful and vibrant. And when it comes to music specifically, Uganda's probably right up there. Politically, it can get a little crazy as well. Stop. Tukola
interview to so time ko get on the Jesus Christ, I want to slap that kid. That could be probably good for documentary.
Okay. So what do you think? First question I ask. So this is actually something I wanted to. I wanted to make the Pearl of Africa about four characters. This is Ken, that mainly features in this one. He was one of them. Cleo, who is in the Pearl of Africa, was another one, and then there was 3 more. Was it 2? Can't even remember. But that's what I pitched in the beginning. So I shot this while I shot the Pearl of Africa because I wanted to make it into a TV series and a feature film. So we had the material, and now we are about to launch it. I don't know when, because we're phasing this out. We're gonna release the trailer soon, I guess, before Christmas at least. But then after that, we will have, or before that, maybe we've fixed that before, but we're looking for media partners right now to kind of launch with. So what we're doing is partnering with media outlets online so they can feature the project hopefully every week. We're doing 8 episodes, I think. So it's going to be for 8 weeks. And hopefully we find different media partners to feature the project. And that way we can, make sure that it gets launched all over the place. So the way we're looking at it is one media partner for like a music blog type of thing, one media partner that is more mainstream, which we already have basically in Huffington Post, but then one niched on African culture in the US, one Ugandan partner, so a little bit different in different places. And then that's to kind of, raise awareness around the project. And then we try to sell it, and we'll see how it goes, basically. But let me get to the questions again. And if you want to ask anything about that and how we're thinking about it and why we do it, ask away. So let's see. Let me just focus myself again. So I have a question here, which is there any possibility to take a short course and learn what you guys do? Essentially, we're looking to start, online courses and coaching eventually. We have one course that we're going to launch about how to sell a film to Netflix. We're still working on it, so we're not sure. We want to launch it this year. We're not sure if we're going to have time to do it, but I think so. So that's the plan. Hopefully we can do more about like grading, we can do cinematography, a lot of stuff. Like just filmmaking and distribution and marketing, all those things that we do a lot of. And also like storytelling and that sort of thing. But it's taking some time, and we don't work with this full time yet. It's not just me, but it's mainly me and Andre have been working on it. Now we're bringing on like editing help, and then that's gonna move on to be more help in like the production and everything. But hopefully soon enough. So let us know what would you like what courses, what do you want to learn more about, what type of coaching. Like I've seen things that I really like in the documentary world, for instance, which I would have gladly had when we started out working on a project, like doing rough cut feedback, for instance. So you send in your film, and then you get a coaching session based on your edit, which is a rough cut. A rough cut is basically when you've set the story, you have a film that you think is, this is working. And if it's a feature film, maybe it's 60 to 70 minutes, or it's even longer and you have to cut it down. But you do that to have something focused to coach around. That's one thing that we've been, looking at doing, and hopefully we can, and maybe we can even bring other people in eventually. So which camera are you using in the storytelling episodes? GH5. So I got this camera recently when we went to the US to shoot a commercial. And because we want to shoot, we've started to shoot a lot behind the scenes for the vlog while we do advertising gigs. So we felt like we wanted to step up that type of behind the scenes material that we get. So that's why we bought this one. And then once I started using it, I realized that this is probably the perfect vlogging camera. So now I've like fallen in love with this camera, and maybe even more than the C300. The C300 is an amazingly reliable, and like you have a low light capability that's amazing, but it's not this small. And I think if you look at the lens setup that I have the SLR Magic manual cine-like lenses. I don't use the follow focus because I think that kind of it ruins the idea of these being small and being on a MFT type of sensor. So I use them just like this. These are really good, but they are manual. Other lenses that I use, Olympus. This is like 45mm Olympus lens. This is from the DJI drone that we have. So this is the DJI 15mm. I'm not sure if this is a DJI. I think it's just the same lens as the Panasonic one is what I think it looks like. So if anybody knows, I have speculated that this is the same, but it's branded with DJI. It looks exactly the same. So if anybody knows, let me know. And then I have the 20mm, also from Panasonic, 1.7. Also tiny. And then the 12 to 35, which has image stabilizer. And this one that I have on also has image stabilizer, which is a 12 to 35. So the reason I love this one so much, and I hate the autofocus, it's annoying me to the bone, but because everything else is pretty much perfect with the camera. It can be a little bit noisy if you go above like ISO 4 to 800, but outside of that, and you know, the autofocus being horrendous, it's an amazing camera. Flip screen, fantastic. I mean, most of you know about this camera, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But I just think that the tiny form factor of this and the stabilizer, it makes it the perfect vlogging camera. Because I have the tiniest lenses on, I can have it with me all the time. And because of the new firmware where you shoot high bit rates, I'm in love with it. So if you're gonna get one camera, you should probably look at this one. Yeah. Okay, so let me get to next questions. Where did I put that phone? Here we go. Let me see if I have a number, so we can get to a call. Here we go. I need to get the live chat up here so I can write the number. It's really strange how you can't copy the live chat. That is something you have to fix, Google. Okay. Too many apps. Hard time finding Skype. Okay, let me answer a different question while I do this. For your new project, how long do you estimate for it to take from start to finish. And now we're speaking about a different feature film. I think we're looking at... It's gonna take at least 3 years from start to finish. It could very well be, looking at 5 years. So because of that, you really have to think about doing projects that you really want to do for that long, because otherwise, you're stuck doing a project that you don't really want to do. So I'm taking my time in the research phase and the casting phase. What? Mom? Bye-bye. So I'm taking the time to find the right characters and the right angle, because it's going to be about 4 characters. So it's probably going to take 5 years, I don't know, until launch, maybe. Okay, so let's call. Who am I calling? Wisdom by God. No? Let me try again. Oh, I missed a 0. I think I missed a 0. Let's see. Phone numbers. Oh, that's why I was wrong. Now it should work. It was the wrong last number. Doesn't seem to work. Okay. How can you get an entry-level DSLR to look more cinematic? Yeah, I actually think the best way to do it is to think about stuff in a cinematic way. You need to pick a perspective, basically. So if that is all tripod, or if that is all handheld, or whatever it is, you need to create a look by picking a perspective first. So a cinematic film can be, all handheld. Like, look at is it Dardenne brothers that do the baby film? Dardenne, let me see. Yeah, Dardenne brothers. Look at their films. That's super cinematic, but in a documentary style. Everything is handheld, and it's really, on just like following a character all the way. I really love that style, because we shot a different film that I was DPing that was done in a similar way, and when you analyze their work, you see kind of what makes it work once you try it out. And what made it cinematic was a lot of the transitions, for instance, in between the handheld shots. Like, how do you go from following a back of someone and then cutting to the next thing? And what we did a lot of was to just keep on moving, like following onto a hand or something, and then you just cut on that movement and that camera movement. And I think you have to create those types of things. I think that's a really interesting way of looking at being cinematic. But then you also have like the styles of like Roy Andersson, which is, a really stylistic cinematic way. So it doesn't have to be faded colors. It doesn't have to be shot on an Alexa, but you need to have a consistent style, and you need to kind of build that style from the story and build it, to be something that is unique and throughout the film. Of course, styles can change and cinematic experiences can change within a film too, but then, that's a style in itself. I think that's part of what I think makes it cinematic. Hopefully. Okay, so let me see. Advice for getting exposure as a filmmaker. This is kind of similar to the earlier one. I think social media is probably your best bet when it comes to exposure today. The best way for people to get exposure from creatives is possibly the Vimeo staff picks, because most of the creative agencies follow Vimeo staff picks for inspiration. So a lot of films that you see there are being used as references when they pitch on jobs. Even I use, other filmmakers' films to pitch in on jobs that I want to do. So that's the way, things go. So then you should be in those places, because then you add your chances of being seen. Another way is to win prizes, which is really hard, because you don't get the work that wins prizes if you're not already a big director, for instance. So the way you do that is maybe partner with a NGO, because NGOs have, pushed and they have projects that could win prizes. So that's one way of doing it. Another way is to just make like proper films. If you're a DP or if you're a director, it doesn't matter. Just go out and collaborate and make projects. I think if you look at it's a Solomon Lightham, and I don't remember the other director, but if you look at Anomaly, it's an amazing Kickstarter project. Let me see. Anomaly. If you just analyze how this project was made, you will get 1,000 ideas of how to change the way you work, I think. Because this film, it's basically a really good film that is, 30, 40 minutes or something. I just think it's weird that they didn't make it longer. I think I emailed Solomon and asked him about it. Yeah, I think I did. Why they didn't go for a feature when they did it, but it's kind of weird. Yeah, 38 minutes. But look at how this one was made. Like, look at the interviews and look at the behind the scenes and all that. Behind the scenes, there's a film on Vimeo, I think. That's one way of doing it. That film has probably been a reference to them getting a lot of work. Dan DeFelice was the other director. So I think you have to create films that either win prizes or that, get viral in some way. Viral can be small if you get Vimeo staff picks. But you have to get it out there, and you have to get people to notice it as a project that they notice themselves. One way of doing that is also to advertise in places or to get PR on your projects. Okay. How was my day? Probably a really slow day. I was home with my son today, so it's been a play day. And that's kind of good, but you don't get much work done. I watched a lot of cartoons though, same as I watched when I was a kid. I'm looking to buy a Sony mirrorless camera. What would be a good one without breaking the bank? I talked to someone about this earlier. I think you should break the bank. Save up to the GH5 one, or the A7S or A7, whatever. Save up to the good cameras, so you at least get up to you can at least go up to $1,000 and save that money. But when you're at $1,000, why not save up to whatever this one is, like $2,000, and get one lens that's cheap or whatever. I think if you buy the lower priced ones and you rush into it, you might as well use an iPhone. I think it's better to save up to it and then like concentrate on writing scripts or collaborating with other people or whatever while you save that money. But work harder and like get an extra job and then hopefully you can afford it. Because like having that camera will boost your career so freaking much compared to having the lower priced ones. But there are people that are like hugely talented that have the lower priced ones. But there is like this thing, for instance, on Facebook where when the red cameras came out, there was started some Facebook groups, which is my mom bought me a red. Let me see, bought me a red Facebook. Is that one? Yeah, my mom bought me a red camera, so now I'm a DP. Amazing Facebook group. Even though there's a lot of irony in this, there's some truth to it. If you buy a red camera, you will become more attractive on the market. You will have more job opportunities because people know that you have a red camera. Doesn't matter how shitty of a DP you are. There is some truth to that. I think you should focus on becoming a better DP, but there is some truth to it. I think people can also make great films on an iPhone, so I don't think like it's the camera, it's what's behind the controls that you should focus on. And focus on that, and you can save money while you read up on like cinematography and taking stills, and yeah. Hopefully that helps, even though it wasn't the answer you were asking for, I guess. I'm waiting the A7S III, but I tested the Nikon D850. What do you think about this last DSLR? I think Nikon is kind of funny because I don't think they make shitty cameras, but it's weird how everybody hates on them. I guess it's because Canon has done so much more. But if you're looking at those type of cameras in that price range, I would, if you're not after the low light capabilities of the A7S series, I would probably look at MFT cameras too, like the GH5, because the GH5 is an amazing camera because it has a codec that doesn't compress everything. Because even though, you know, the dynamic range on the A7S cameras is great, it has a much, much harder compression. So if you use an external recorder, fine, but that's a lot of more money to add and it becomes this clumsy beast. This one shoots at the same bitrate as the C300 that is shooting this. It's crazy. This one, it is noisier, but that's because of the sensor size, because smaller sensor will get more problems like that. Okay, so more Sony. The winner for photo, video, in travel. And then we have like Sony A9, A7, and then the Nikon again, and then the Canon. Again, GH5. I'm in love with the GH5, and I'm not sponsored by Panasonic, but I should be because I'm doing all Panasonic's work right now. The stabilizer in the GH5, I think Sony has a similar one, maybe. Not 100%, so I'm not gonna say. But the GH5 stabilizer is the biggest selling point for the camera, and then the compression is so good, or you know, high. The bitrate in 4K is, I think, 400 megabits per second. Let me just check. I know I checked the A9, and I think the Sony A9 it had a much higher compression rate, or higher, lower, like more compressed. And I'm sure the Nikon one has the same, and the Canon ones, yeah, they have the same, but the Canon codecs are really good. I don't really like the Sony codecs. The A7S2, is that the one that I've graded some? That falls apart quite quickly. I don't think the Canon cameras fall apart as quickly when you grade them, even though it's hard compression rate. Yeah. Okay, so hey man, I love your work. Being a filmmaker myself, I'd like to learn more how to grow an audience. Yeah, you should. How to get exposure and also how to find brands to work with. 3 questions. So audience. It's a funny time that we're in because I think to grow an audience you have to... It's easier to be young today because if you're in my age, you really have to shift your focus on, what your work is. Most people who make films that are, above 30, they have a different mentality where, it's all about them. I think that way of working, has faded away. You can't be this introverted artist anymore. People can make a career like that. A lot of people that are in the festival circuit with me are doing exactly that. They're this, full of themselves type of characters that only focus on, me. That way of thinking doesn't work anymore. You have to kind of offer something back to the audience, and you have to involve audiences more, like this live type of Q&A thing. It's funny because I've gone to film festivals and done Q&As where like 2 people shows up. I've also done the ones where like 500 people show up or like 1,000, but a lot of the time it's not a lot of people show up. I could just do this instead and people will feel more engaged and build a relationship because that's what it's all about. So I think if you look at the festival world, which is the base of launching a film, what used to be is that the festival world was the place where you got connected to your audience. You went to a festival route, with your film. You went all over the place, showed the film. That was what connected you to your audience. You went to the screenings, you showed the film, It was the first time you met the audience. You sat in that, cinema and you showed the film and people, had the reactions. That didn't mean you talked to them though. Maybe you did, some of them that came up to you afterwards, because that happens at the screenings. But mostly it's like this short, I love your work, blah, 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 blah. It's not a deep relationship. And that's the big thing that's happening now. And I know everybody that's young understands this. And I know if you're here, you probably realize that that's why this is such an effective way of working. Like you build an audience relationship because you try to give, 2 ways. Like I wouldn't sit here and do these Q&As if nobody showed up. So you give, by asking questions and I give by answering the questions. And I think that's one way that people need to rethink how they think about audiences. And they have to kind of invite them earlier in the process of making stuff. And don't be so afraid of like showing. I showed a trailer that isn't graded. It's not even, I don't know, is it finished? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like involve people earlier and don't be so like fixed on this idea of the release where you kind of release it into the world, because that's not going to grow an audience. You have to kind of do it like piece by piece. It takes years to grow an audience. We did it kind of okay, I think, with The Pearl of Africa, but we're not going to do it the same way now, because then we released the web series in 2014, I think. Yeah, 2016 was the film. And in between, we kind of lost the audience. We had them on Facebook and all that, but we didn't have a strategy that was solid. And I think the only way you can do that is by making it personal. So it's much easier for me now to build an audience here, because it's, in a way, it's still all about me, which is kind of ironic that I said that. But the reason why it has to be about me is because it has to be personal. And as long as it's a give-take type of relationship, I think it's awesome. And I think that's what you have to build upon. You have to build that relationship between your audience, and it's not about the film. It's more about, you know, the journey, or letting them, other audiences, into your life, and then to gain exposure. It kind of depends on what you want to do. I think if you launch a project, for instance, our model is pretty much like launch a web series, drive PR and traffic online through partners and through social media and all those things. Partner up with people that can push your work once it gets out. Like find partners that are, you know, a blog or influencers or whatever it is, and get them to share your work once it gets out. And then, you know, the Vimeo staff picks that I talked about, like those platforms, there are more than those that you can look at. Use those to get your project out there, because it's really hard to get you as a filmmaker to get, you know, popular enough so that you just push it out and people come. You need to pretty much get it on Reddit, get it on like Huffington Post, chase down journalists, research journalist that has written about your subject before. Contact them. There's always an email address. I should do something more about this later, because Andre works much more with the audience and marketing part of what we do, and distribution. Yeah. And how to find brands to work with. I watched Chris Burkhardt did a masterclass on Creative Live. And because we're doing courses, I thought, let's just watch this one, because I like what he does. So I watched it, and I think an interesting thing that he said, that he did, which I hadn't thought about, but we've done the same thing, but he kind of summed it up. Because he went from working editorial, he's a photographer that did mainly surf photo. And then what he did when he wanted to get brands was that he worked the editorial world. Like he did magazines, photos, all that stuff with shitty pay. But what he got him access to was these athletes like surfers and all these type of athletes. And then he used those to kind of get brands interested in his pictures. That built a relationship. But another thing that he told about in the masterclass was that he also when he went on an assignment or something, he rented an expensive Land Rover or that sort of thing to get motor jobs. He wanted to build up his motor portfolio. So he rented an expensive car that he wouldn't have rented otherwise. He would have had a shitty like minivan or something like that to drive around with. But he rented that, and he made sure to shoot it when he was around doing stuff in these amazing locations. And eventually now he works with, I don't know if it's Land Rover, but you know, he works with motor brands. You need to think about getting those portfolio works that will land you the jobs. And sometimes you have to pay for it to make it happen. It's kind of hard because it can cost a lot of money to build up a portfolio of work. But I really think that it might be the only way that you can do it. You have to really focus on like building your own portfolio big, and like the people can't deny it. And you can only do that by creating great works that like win prizes or go viral, or you know, it has to be emotional stuff. It can't be your regular commercial thing, because nobody is gonna care about it. You remind me of Casey Neistat. Yeah, Casey, I'm coming for you still. Oops, why did you update? Hey man, I think when people try to ask YouTubers or filmmakers about how they vlog or how they make a film of any kind of thing, I can't read, sorry. they don't really want to know the exact camera or the equipment. It's more about how to choose better shots, what to film, what not, what to shoot, to choose, how to film B-roll, blah blah. How you create the narrative, including choosing angle, lens, and more. I don't know if there was a question in that. But you probably are right. I mean, I'm so spontaneous in what I do. I pretty much just go out and I shoot stuff and then I see what works. I'm much more into reacting on things. Like I started out as a still documentary photographer, and then I went into filmmaking and video afterwards. So I think I have that type of process to making stuff. I really love that not knowing type of process. So I don't plan that much. I try to be open and react to things that are happening. But since I've worked so much with storytelling, both as a cinematographer and as an editor, and also nowadays a director, I have, quite quickly I can make up my mind on what the story is in something or what pictures I need to tell the story. But in terms of vlogging, a lot of my vlogging style is based on just like reacting to things or trying to also think about things in like moving while I do things, or to tell a story while I do something, because just sitting like this or just standing talking, it becomes quite tedious to watch after a while. So I try to have something that moves forward all the time to kind of package the whole story in something that's moving. Yeah. Ask more specific, you will get more specific answer. I know you use DaVinci, but I have trouble matching my drone footage to my camera. Any advice? Depending on what you're using, I think it's kind of hard with the drone footage because it's so compressed and because the dynamic range isn't so good. So I think trying to hide for instance, the highlight clips, because it does, or that sort of thing, you need to try to kind of level it out. It usually has much more contrast, the drone footage, so you need to level that out. You probably also need to motion blur stuff to make it look more cinematic, because everything is sharp, and because everything is too sharp, you need to pick something that is more sharp and something that's less sharp. You need to post-process it in a way that makes it look like a normal image, basically. But it's also about the color and saturation part of it, because it's too much saturation in the drone footage often. So you have to play around with that, and you have to white balance it. Make sure you white balance it when you shoot, so that it looks as close to what you want in the final product that you can. Yeah, hope that helps. Let me know. You can probably comment again if you want to know more specific, like what do you use. If you use DaVinci, then that's easy, but if you have Premiere, you maybe, or Final Cut, you could try out Film Convert, which has presets for the drones and probably for your camera. And yeah. Have you taken any of the filmmaking classes from Masterclass? What are your thoughts? I haven't, but I want to take Werner Herzog's class, because he is the man. I'm the only one to have a big lag with the sound. I don't know. Probably, hopefully. Yes, there is lag. Why am I only finding this out now? Do you ever get uncomfortable vlogging in public? All the time. Like every freaking day. That's why this camera is good and this tiny lens, because it doesn't look like I'm a professional. So I just, easier to get away with than to use the C300. How do you feel about number of audience here? I'm guessing the live stream. I think it's awesome. Like this is much more people than I would have thought that would tune in every week. And I think it's awesome that it's so many questions that are coming in. It's just growing. It's kind of strange that you have so much focus on YouTube is like making these videos and everything, and actually the community is basically what does, everything becomes more magical when you get a strong community, I think. And I think all YouTubers understands that, but I think the filmmakers that aren't on YouTube fail to understand that it's the audience that come and they build these personal relationships that is the magical part of YouTube. But only YouTubers and people consuming YouTube in like a regular basis understands that, and I just can't get it how they fail to grasp how important the community is. Let me try a number. Oops. Manuel. No? The fuck? Is it my phone or is it... Okay. Let me know if you want me to call again. I can try again though. This is so strange. I shoot with a Canon, and for my drone I use DaVinci to go. Okay, here we go. Hello? Is it Manuel?
Yes, hey, how you doing?
Hey, it's Johnny. How are you?
Doing good. Just watching the live chat right here.
Is it bad, the lag?
I just put you on silent though, so
Uh-huh.
like the lag doesn't...
Alright. So what do you want to ask, man?
Yeah, man, so for me, I'm a filmmaker. I've been shooting film professionally for the last 5 years. And I started out interested in narrative filmmaking and trying to take that route. But, the time that I started going to school, I'm 26 right now, and the time that I started going to school, that's kind of when, YouTube was getting big and everything was switching over to digital. And, the landscape kind of changed as far as the traditional route to take, for doing this. And for becoming, a traditional filmmaker, I guess, and making narrative film. But in the meantime, as I was going to school, I started seeing that there was a huge market for businesses that wanted filmmaking and storytelling. So I was able to kind of find I wouldn't call it a niche, but definitely find a market that was interested in my work. And over the course of the last few years, I've been producing more content for other brands, and this past year started doing more storytelling. Now for me, I feel like I'm kind of going in a circle. I don't know. I feel like I don't know if I'm riding the right wave or if I'm making the right decisions, because I know my ultimate goal was to be like a filmmaker, but it's like, oh, now it's turning into something else, and it's like it's not a bad thing.
But you wanna make your own projects.
Go through this. If you how do you navigate these waters of this creative industry?
Yeah.
Because things are changing constantly. So just wanted to see how you if you've experienced this or
Yeah, definitely.
how are you dealing with this modern new filmmaking styles.
I mean, is it that you want to make your own films, or do you want to be in the like creative advertising space, corporate type of stuff?
Yeah, it's more of filmmaking. It's more of narrative. Like I want to go back to like narrative creating. But the thing is that like, I'm noticing with these filmmakers now, or with these businesses now, they're all interested in stories. So it's kind of like the businesses are the new studios. To a degree, like and I'm pitching stories to them now and telling them, you shoot this little.
I mean, I think you're in a good. I think you're in a really good position though, because I feel like more people or more brands will move towards like what Red Bull does, and go into proper feature films. And I think like the where we're going is, or at least that's why we started our YouTube channel, is that we want to find brands that want to go in and maybe pay for being a partner for a year or something like that. And I think that's pretty possible soon when it comes to like YouTube. You can probably find that if you have like the right type of connections and you have a channel. But where you're at with already working for the brands, I think you have the same opportunity to pitch to them. The struggle there is that they will always affect like the outcome in a way. They will always have like if you can find like a really definite style, like they hire you to do exactly what you do. If you're in that position, then you will get the type of jobs that you want to do. But it's so much compromises working with brands too. So you have to be picky when it comes to which ones you work with. But otherwise, I love the situation right now where you have the brands that can, Nike or Adidas or somebody like that, they can make a proper film that could be in the cinema, tomorrow.
Right.
And they probably will,
For sure. Yeah, for me, I mean, I'm just noticing, like, it's harder, like, before it was like, oh, my dream was to, have a film in the theater. But that's, like, slowly changing because the world is changing. It's, like, now online.
Yeah. I think...
Or have their eyes. So it's kind of, like, changing the mindset a little bit. But it's kind of, like, also, I just want to know, like, am I doing the right choice by doing this, or should I be doing different things if I want to do narrative? Like,
I think you can do.
It's still possible to do this narrative.
Yeah.
But like, am I doing the right thing to use the narrative route?
I mean, I think you still should do the narrative route because that's more of the passion type of projects. But I think you should probably go the untraditional route with it, because it's really hard to fund stuff in the traditional way, and it's so slow. The whole process is like, it's so tedious, and like if you come from the YouTube background and you come from the online background, it's so hard to accept how slow it is, and it's really hard to accept like their mentality of things, because that the audience don't want what they try to create, and that's frustrating. And I think in a way like I think in a way like film festivals, they've kind of lost their shine in a way. Of course, if you get into Sundance or Cannes or something, it can launch a career, but most films that get there that succeed in that, it's the ones that have big budgets, like huge connections and everything before they get there. Then they're successful. Otherwise, I think people can be much more successful online if you do that route. And like if you look at the type of people that watch films in the cinema and compare that to like Vimeo staff picks is probably going to be much more successful in terms of numbers.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, right now my strategy is more of like, okay, just produce stuff that I'm interested in, like documentary stuff that I could do, maybe even short films, and just try to build the audience and keep on doing that on repeat, and do like my advertising stuff for income to allow a budget to film, the passion stuff.
Yeah.
And just keep on doing that and building it online, and then, the how many swing, like if I keep on swinging the bat, I'm gonna hit something eventually. So that's kind of my strategy right now. But I just wanted to see if I'm doing the right thing, or if there's like maybe something I don't know that I should be trying to do.
Yeah, no, I think you're doing the right thing, but I think just focus even more on the personal projects that kind of define your style, and then I think you're set, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right, thanks for hanging out, man. So, last question. Let me see. What's the name of your lenses that you just showed? I'm not sure which ones it was. This is the SLR Magic one. SLR Magic has MFT lenses that are really good. This is the Panasonic 20mm 1.7. This is the DJI 15mm 1.7. And this one is the 12 to 35mm Panasonic 2.8. And this is the Olympus 45mm 1.8. I think that's it. Oh yeah, this one too. This one, maybe this one was what the one you asked about. This is a Panasonic 12 to 35. This is actually from 3.5 to 5.6, I think. Yeah. But it's kind of a weird... Like, I didn't know it when I ordered it, but now I kind of like it. You don't have a focus ring on this one. You have that on all the other ones. So what is that? You have one switch. Now you can use it. Then this is 12 and then to 32. So this is just to lock it up, basically. I didn't know it, but now I like that it's small and tiny. Okay, so that's gonna be it. Back next week, but gonna be a video, 2 videos actually, about audio gear and stuff this week before we see each other again. So thank you for watching, and hopefully I can fix the audio lag, because I need to find out what's up with that. All right, bye bye.